Elliot from the Neighborhood Quarter Guy here, and there were a couple of comments in the last episode of my 25 cents worth saying that I probably should have had a hat underneath this hat, kind of like as a nod to this one episode of the Naruto anime where Naruto, Sakura, and Sasuke were trying to find out what was under Kakashi Sensei's mask. I could have done something like that, however, it's kind of hard to hide a hat under a hat. And besides, I was without my hat during my first Unscripted. If you want to know what I look like without the hat, watch that video. Of course, it's about an issue that was really big around that time. But anyway. Do you want to know something that really grinds my gears? When I listen to some people who make countdowns, one thing that really bugs me is when they stammer in their vocals when they do their countdowns. I mean, you have audio recording programs, you can do multiple takes, there's really no need to hear stuttering. Just some friendly advice from someone who knows. Another thing, one thing I hate seeing is off-screen footage in countdowns. The quality will suffer for it. I hate seeing that. Anyway, there's really not much for me to say this week off the cuff, so let's go right to user questions. First question comes from That Rusty Gamer. He asks, what's your favorite fighting game franchise aside from BlazBlue? If you're looking at traditional fighting games, I would have to say it's probably The King of Fighters. I mean, it's got some pretty interesting, if totally unnecessary, storylines. It's got a wide assortment of characters to play with a wide variety of fighting styles. And the concept of 3-on-3, the way KOF pulls it off, really makes for some really interesting strategies. Who knows, if I were lucky enough to do a collab with Josh, I'd like to talk about the fighters of KOF. But if you're looking at all fighting games, I would have to say, without a doubt, it's Super Smash Bros. I mean, who doesn't love seeing their favorite Nintendo and, in some instances, third-party characters beat the crap out of one another? I mean, it's just so much fun. 64, Melee, Brawl, I love all of them. And I am so excited for Smash Bros. 4 on 3DS and Wii U. And I'm sure there's going to be some interaction between the two versions. I can't wait for that. And I can't wait to play as Mega Man in Smash. That is going to be so awesome! So that's my answer to that question. Next question comes from Curia Wave. He asks, since the X series had some luck from the Mustard of Doom, will you do a list of Mavericks from the Mega Man Zero series? First off, they're not Mavericks. They're just bosses. And at some point, I would like to do a countdown on the bosses of the Mega Man Zero series, including endgame bosses. Of course, this means I'll have to talk about Dr. Friggin' Vile again. God, I hate that guy. Personally, I have to say that Mega Man Zero is quite possibly, as a whole, the best of all the Mega Man series. I mean, there's not a single bad game in the bunch, and the boss fights are just awesome for the most part. I would love to talk about the boss fights in Mega Man Zero. Next question comes from Obsidious Fan. A lot of countdown makers asking me questions today. He asks, what are your feelings on the Kingdom Hearts 3 announcement? Not gonna lie, I think it's gonna be awesome. Though I am kind of upset that I'm going to have to buy a new console just to play that. I mean, why does it have... I understand that they want to build it on the better hardware, but this is one of those cases where the technical limitations of the Wii U are just going to come back to haunt it. But that's just because Nintendo just makes games. That's pretty much all they do. I mean, Sony has other electronics, and Microsoft has their Windows operating system. So they make money from those. So they're able to afford higher-end hardware to make their consoles. Nintendo just makes games. It's all they do. So they have to think of other ways to change the way people play games. As for the Kingdom Hearts series, to call it an RPG, in my opinion, is kind of a stretch. It's pretty much an action game masquerading as an RPG, but I still have tons of fun with it. In each of the games I've played the first one, I've played the second one, I've played 358 Days Over 2, and I've played Kingdom Hearts 3D Dream Drop Distance. I play Kingdom Hearts more for the action than the storyline. I mean, especially when it's so complicated that that most players would have to read the wiki to make sense of it. But to sum it up, yeah, I'm excited for Kingdom Hearts 3. Hopefully at some point I'll get a system needed to play it. Next question. Jack Stevenson asks, why do you call Hazama Terami?
Okay, who jacked my script? Terami!
Well, to make a long story short, Yuki Terami is actually Hazama's real name. Those of you who have played through the BlazBlue storyline, and trust me, it gives Kingdom Hearts' complication levels a run for its money, you'd understand why I call him Terami. I mean, yeah, of course, if you want to go into more detail, play the games. Final question comes from Pollockster421. He asks, what was the most disappointing game you bought on its launch week? Well, this is kind of easy. It has a lot of marks of disappointment. Its roster was smaller than the first game in the series it came from. It stayed a series that I enjoy. It had unnecessary gameplay gimmicks. It had an extreme lack of features. It had horrible netcode. And it just wasn't fun. So, to put it simply, the most disappointing game I've ever bought on launch week was The King of Fighters 12.